Hey guys, my name's TotallyGamerJet, and welcome back to another episode. Today is episode 4. We are going to be doing directional teleportation, and yeah, I think this is going to be very interesting. If you don't know what directional teleportation is, it's like, so the commands we're going to do, it's easier if I tell you what commands. So we're going to do /up, and then the blocks, and it'll tell you that many blocks up, /down, /right, and /left. So I think that's going to be really interesting because it sounds easy. Just teleport the player, get their location, teleport it that such and such block away, but it's actually much harder than you would think. Up and down's easy, but left and right's hard. So let's get started. So I made it easy. I already have my up class here, and yep, so we're gonna get rid of that override and stuff. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check, we got to do this. We got to add our variables, cmd, label, a. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the person running this command is an instance of player. So if sender instance of player. We already know what that means, so that doesn't need to be explained. We're going to do return false so that it doesn't continue any farther. And we're going to use sender.send message. Tell them they have to be a player. It's freezing up. Send message. There we go. And we're going to do in... I don't know, they may not see it in red, but let's just do it in red. You must be a player to run this command. So there we go. So now that we have that, we can get the player. Player P equals cast player sender. Now we're going to create a variable loc, which is of the type location. Loc equals p dot get location. So we're going to get the player's location, import player. Okay. Next thing we're going to check is to make sure that they've at least have one variable in one argument in their command. So to do that, we do if a.length does not equal 1, we're gonna return. Oh, return false, gotta be. And we're going to do p dot send message, and we're gonna say we're going to do c, and then we're gonna type /up, so the command, and then number of blocks. Oop. There we go. Okay, hiccups. So there we go. So now we make sure that there is another argument. So we're hoping that's blocks, but we're not absolutely sure. So, but if we're just going to do a try statement, and we're going to int I equals 0. Okay. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do I equals integer dot parse, and then we're gonna do argument 0. There we go, and that's going to set I to the number that they put. So then we have to do a catch, and then, okay, so there we go. So now we just have print stack trace, and there we go. So now, we're getting an error because, it's not really an error, it's just warning you that it's not being used, but that's okay. So now we gotta get the Y value of the player. So we're gonna create a double, Y equals loc.getY. Okay, so this is creating a double. This is like integer float. Boolean is actually a type of integer. It's 0, 1 or true false. So yeah, so now it's a double, so it's like going to be a huge range of numbers, and that's going to equal loc.getY. So next we're going to do is we're going to do y plus equals I. So this plus equals is actually an abbreviation of y equals y plus I. Okay? So it makes it really simple to just, it makes the code easier to read. So now what we're going to do is just going to teleport the player. p.teleport, and we're going to teleport to a location loc. So there we go. So now the player is being teleported to our changed one, which our changed y, which is y plus the I, which the I comes from the argument a0, which comes from the command /up number of blocks. Oops, there was one thing I forgot to do, is we have to set the y now. So loc.setY, and we're going to set it to y. So there we go. With that, we just, because, yeah, we got to make sure that we set the y to the new y, and then we teleport the player. So then what we have to do is the player is going to, once they're teleported, they're just going to fall. So we're going to place a glass block underneath them. So to start doing that is we have to change the y. So what we're going to do is loc.setY, loc.getY, -1. So it's going to get the location, it's going to set the loc's location to the loc.getY -1. So then we're going to get the location, the block at that location. Block, make sure you spell block right. Import that block. Equals loc.getBlock at that location. There you go. So then we're going to do block.set type. And we're going to do material.glass. There we go. So this is really simple. So let's go over everything. So first we check to make sure the sender is a player. If they're not, we send them a message telling them they must be a player to run this command. Then after that, we get the player, casting it from sender, and then we have a location loc, which equals the player.getLocation. Then what we do is we check to make sure that they have at least one argument. We're hoping that it's an integer. Then we create our I equals 0. Then we try to parse the integer from argument 0, and then if not, we catch the error and print stack trace. Then if it is, hopefully it was, there actually should be a return false here, so that if it's not, it returns, and you don't continue any farther. So then we create a double y, which equals the location's y. Then we do y plus equals I, so it's going to add the y to whatever number they want it to go up. And then we set the y value to loc to the y double value over here. Then we teleport the player to location. Then right after that, we set loc.setY to the location.getY -1, so it's going to get one block underneath that location that we teleported the player. Then it's going to create a block. It's going to get the block at that location and call it block. Then we're going to set that block to the type glass. So that was pretty simple, guys, right? Up is really simple and not that difficult. So now what we're going to do is we're going to also create a down. So let's just create a new class down. Okay? And what I like to do is just copy from implements to the bottom. And then there will be some things we'll have to change, but it won't be hard. I gotta get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So let's change this, where the message that's being sent to the player is down. Then we're still going to parse, but over here, we're going to actually do minus. So it's going to be y equals y minus I. So we're going down. And then it's going to set the y, it's going to get the player's location. Then it's going to get it's going to set the y to the location's already y to -1. And then it's going to set a block there at the location, and that block's going to be glass. So there you go, guys. Down and up were really easy, but those are just the easy ones. So now we have to do left and right, and you may think that's easy, but you have to actually think of that. You have to think of it in a three-dimensional form. You don't just have x and y. You have x, y, and z. So you have to figure out which direction the player is looking at, and then accordingly teleport them in that location. So I've drawn a picture that hopefully will help you to understand. Okay, here's this picture. Yeah, it's not the nicest picture, but it definitely, hopefully you'll understand. So there's two directions. There's two that we are worrying about. We're worrying about the yaw. So yaw is the left and right, like where you're facing left and right, and the pitch is up and down. So yeah. Okay, so there's two directions that we're looking at. So we're looking at x and y axis. Okay, so if you think of a graph three-dimensional, you get this. So we have our y-axis, this dashed line. So we have the x and the z. So we have positive z, so this is going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is the negatives, which is going to be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then we have z, which does the exact same thing. We have positive z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and negative z, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And then you have the y that also has positive y, which would be down here, and negative y, which would be up here. So, but we're not looking at y because that's not going to affect our yaw. So now that we know what we're looking at, we have to figure out, well, shouldn't we just get the direction they're looking at, and we transfer that into the axis, and then just add or subtract or whatever. And yeah, that seems simple, but it's actually not, because the way Minecraft works is it starts at 0. Then it goes to 90 and 180, like all the numbers in between, but it goes to z plus to negative z, it goes 0, 90, and then to negative z, it goes to 180. But then going to positive x, you get 0, negative 45, negative 90, negative 135. So that's weird, because in the real world, if you were to do, you get 360, not 180 and negative 180. That doesn't make sense. Like, so we have to do a little bit special things, but yeah, let's get into the code. We're gonna have to code a special method that's going to figure out which axis, which it's called, that the player is looking at. And then with that axis, we can decide to teleport them minus a location or plus, and yeah. So let's do right first, because that one, I just like right. I don't know. So we're going to do right. So we're going to take right, and we're going to copy the up, and we're going to add everything in here. So there will be some stuff to do, the change, but right now, it's going to be the same. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create the method. We're going to make it public, and it's going to return a string, because it's going to say positive x, negative x, and that's going to be in the format of a string. And we're going to call this get axis. And what we're going to need is the player P. So what we have to do is we're going to get the player's yaw. So double, because it has to be a double. Rotation equals P dot get location dot get yaw. There you go, see? Yaw. So we have an error, but that's just because we need to return something, and we don't have a return right now. So right now, as you remember before, I said that Minecraft has the negatives on the other side. So to fix that, we're going to do an if statement. If rotation is less than 0, we're going to do something, because we're going to obviously add 360 to that, so that the number will be what it should be, as 360. So to do that, we do rotation plus equals 360. Okay, and so it's going to add 360 to the number, so this will work if we go, and let's say we're at 45, and then we add 360 all the way around, we get 315, which is what it should be. And then let's say negative 135, we add 360, we get 226. So yep, that is how that's how you do it. And then we have to check what the yaw is, and then send the axis that they're looking at. So the first one we have to do is this is really complicated, so if you don't understand, it's okay, just follow along, and hopefully you'll understand by the end of the video. So if 315 is less than or equal to rotation, so this is saying rotation is going to be greater than 315, or rotation is less than 45. So if it is, we're going to return positive z, because they're looking at positive z. So this makes sense. So let's go look at 350 and 315, and if rotation is greater than that. So 315 is right here, okay? So if 350, if it's greater than 315, that means it's going to be over here, or somewhere like which you can't pass 0, so it doesn't matter. There's no need to check another number because you just need to know that it's greater than 315. And then you have 45. If it's less than 45, well, we go over here, we hit 0, and then there's no more numbers, so we don't have to check anything else. So there, if it's in between these two numbers, they're looking at the positive z axis. So that's why we return positive z. Else, if 45 is less than or equal to rotation, and rotation less than 135. And this is going to represent the negative x, or, yeah, negative x-axis. So there we go. So now it's going to, if you see 45, so if it's greater than 45, greater than or equal to 45, so if it equals 45 or is greater than that, then that means it's going to be somewhere here, or it could be in the z because we just said greater. And then we have this double and, which means it has to include this other, it has to be true to this also thing for this if statement to be true and return. So it also has to be less than 135. So 135 is right over here, right there. And so if it's in between these two numbers, they're obviously looking at the negative x. So that's really simple. And then I'll just do the rest of it so that you know what it is. There's a lot of numbers and it took a really long time to figure out, and I'm just going to do it and hopefully you understand what it means. Okay, so I finished, and here are the correct numbers. You can just copy them down, or you can look at the source, which can be found in the description of this video. So right here we have the exact numbers that correspond with each axis. So you can test it out, or well, we haven't even gone to that, but this is the numbers. So when this method is ram, it's going to check to make sure that the number isn't less than 0, so that we transfer to the real world numbers that are used, so 360. And then we do these checks to see which axis they're actually looking at. So now what we have to do is we have to actually have an if statement to identify what axis the player is actually looking at. So to do this, we're going to create a string above, in between the try and the double y. We're going to do string axis equals get axis, and then we're going to put p. So that's going to represent our player, which is up here. Play p. Okay, so now we're going to do if axis dot equals, if it equals positive x, we're going to, well, let's check. Let's see. Let's look at our graph over here, graph 2. So graph 2, if we're looking at the positive z and we want to go to the right, we want to add to z. See, we're on the positive z, so we're going to add to z so that it gets close, where it moves them to positive z axis. So we're going to add to z. So you see, we go to the right, and it says add to z. So it's really simple. So then to do that, we're going to do loc.setz, loc.getz plus I. Okay. Oh, and there's an error. It's just loc.getz plus I. And then we're going to do p.teleport. Well, actually, you know what we can do is at the end teleport the player. So there we go. So it's going to set the z in this one. So then we're going to do else if axis dot equals, and if it equals positive z, then we're going to, let's see, well, if they're looking at positive z and we want to go to the right, that means we're going to minus from x. So we're going to subtract from x. So to do that, we do loc dot set x to loc dot get x minus I. Okay, then we're going to do else if axis dot equals, and if it equals negative x, then we're going to, well, let's check. So we're going to go, we're looking at negative x, that means we're going to subtract from z. So we're going to do loc dot set z, loc dot get z minus I. Okay, so now we're setting all of the locations, and then we're going to do else if axis dot equals, and if it equals negative z. So the only direction that we haven't done is subtract. It's gonna be subtract. Let's see. Well, negative z. If we're looking at negative z, we want to go to the right. We're gonna add to x. So loc dot set x to loc dot get x, and then plus I. As you can see up here, loc was minus, x was minus, x is plus here. So then there we go. So it's going to set the location of the player. And then if you also want to do the block, we have to just go down here and get, we're just going to copy this and paste it. So it's going to get the location that it was set, which is the new location, and it's going to go one below that and set a block. And then we could just do that under every single one. And then after all this, we're going to do p.teleport to the location. Okay, and we can get rid of all of this because this is not important. So now we're teleporting the player to the right. So when they type right and they're facing positive x, we're going to add it to their z, and then we're going to set a block of glass underneath them. So so it's really simple, guys. And now we're going to do the left, which is just as simple as that if you thought that was simple. So left, and we could technically just copy this. I'm making a video, go away. We paste it into the left class, so we got no errors, but of course there's going to be some errors because we need to reverse all of this stuff. So if you look at, let's just give an example, positive x. So if we want to go to positive, we're facing positive x, and you want to go to the left, that means we have to subtract from z. So let's change this to subtract, and then we don't have to change the location. Then if we do x, if positive x, if we're looking at positive z, and we want to go to the left, that means we're going to add to x. So we're going to change this to addition. So then you could just technically reverse the signs and they'll work. Okay, guys, so are those sirens. So what I was explaining was that you can technically reverse what was on the right to become the left, and it's mathematically correct, and it will teleport the player to the new location. So hopefully you guys understood this. We can now test it. So in your main class, we're going to do get command, and we're going to put up, and then we're going to do dot set executor, and the executor is going to be a new up. There we go. And import up. So then I'm just going to copy this 3 more times. 2, 3. Then we're going to do down, and this is going to be down, right, and then this will be right, left, and this will be left. So then just import all of those. Why do we have an, oh yeah, this is lowercase, should be uppercase. There we go, left. And import. So there we go, and then all you have to do is go to your plugin.yml, add the commands, and you'll be set to go. We have an error. Okay, I guess it didn't implement. Okay, it didn't implement command execute, but now it does, and there you go. So now I'm going to export it, as you can see, export, next, and then finish, yes, and I'll start up the server, and we can test it out. Okay guys, so we're on the server, and now if we do, let's just stand on the ground, and we'll do /up, 5. Whoops, this must be an error. Okay guys, so I forgot to do is not, and then it's going to ask us to put parentheses around it. So yeah guys, make sure you check your code, and to make sure that the player is not the sender is not a player. And there we go, we should not have, oh yeah, we should have errors because we need the parentheses around stuff. So yeah guys, I forgot to put the exclamation point to say that it's not an instance, so make sure you do that. And then you can just re-export it and reload the server. So now if you do /up 5 blocks, you can see it teleports me up 5 blocks, and there's going to be a block placed right below me. So now we can test this. So if we look at, we're looking at -x, you can do /right 2. Whoops, I fell through the blocks, but yeah. So it teleported me. If we can just replace a block right here so that you can see where the center is. So it teleported me to the right 2 blocks. And now we're looking at -z /right 2 blocks. And yeah, I'm glitching through the ground. So you guys, what you want to do is you just want to teleport the player right after you set the location, because it's technically it's resetting the Y, and that's messing everything up. So yeah, gotta also do that for the. So yeah guys, I'm sorry. So yeah guys, just make sure you teleport the player right after you set their new location, because if you teleport after the end of the ifs, then it's changing, their Y's are being changed one lower to the same Y as the block. So if we break these, and now if we do /right 2, you can see we get teleported, and then a block is placed underneath us, so there's no problem there. And then if we look in this direction, /right 2, we get teleported to the right. Look in this direction, teleport to the right, and if we look in this direction, you get teleported to the right, and you can see it works. So now if you do /down 3, we'll get right below this block, and what we can do is we can show you that left works is functional. So if we do, we're facing +x /left 2, it's teleporting me to the left. And then if we're facing towards -z to the left, it moves us to the left. And now if we're facing towards -x and we do left 2, we get teleported to the left. Then if we're looking towards +z and to the left, it teleports us. So you can obviously see guys that all of it is working fine, and that there was a few problems, but they're nothing major. Our code was working, our math was correct, so you know that. So hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. You can also now do /forward, and then just add or subtract from the location that they're looking at. So if it was +z, you would add the number to z, and if it was -z, you would subtract the number from z. So yeah, if you have any troubles with this, just comment below, and I'll help you guys. And thanks for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe for more, and I'll check you guys out next time. Goodbye.